This is J. Krishnamurti's third talk with students at Rajghat, 1967.
Shall we go on with what we were talking about the other day? We were saying that the world is divided by ideologies. There's the whole Christian ideology in the West, with its capitalistic ideas. And in the Orient, there are the divisions created by ideas and ideologies as Hinduism, Islam, Buddhism, and so on. And the communist world is divided by the Marxist left and the Marxist Lenin right. So the world is divided. And they're all at war with each other. In Delhi, it's a war of every day. And it culminates occasionally, fortunately, rarely, into a bloody war where they shoot and kill each other. But the fact remains that the world is divided by ideologies. As this country is divided politically, as the Congress, Communists, so on, so on, so on, divided by ideas. As the Brahman, non-Brahman, the big man and the little man, the big shot and the clerk, and so on and on and on. They're all ideas. And our lives as human beings are guided by ideas. Ideas are organized thought. Isn't that it? We organize thought into an idea and carry that idea into action. First, I think what I should do, and the should do becomes the idea, the ideology, the pattern, and according to that ideology, idea, pattern, I act. So the origin of our action is always thought, based on an idea, right? You have an idea originating from a thought, and I have my idea according to my thought. And that thought is based on my inclination, what I would like it to be, or my pleasure, or my tendency, or compelled by circumstances. My thought is guided by my pleasure, by my inclination, by my tendency. If I'm intellectual, emotional, or purely physical, my thought is guided by that, or my thought is shaped, controlled by circumstances, by society, by the culture in which I live. Right? So, unless there is a dissolution of ideas, ideals, and ideologies, man can never come together. If I am a communist, I have my ideologies based on Marx, Lenin and so on. I have those. And I compel others to believe in that. I train others. I brainwash others to accept these ideas through propaganda, through torture, through fear, through mesmerism. I force them to accept it. And if you have other set of ideas, other set of ideologies, you force others. Not so brutally perhaps, but much more subtly. Through propaganda, through family, through tradition, through religious doctrines and so on and so on. So I have my ideology and you have your ideologies. And we are divided, and we fight each other. So the world is like that. There is the whole communist world divided in itself as the left and the right, and the Trotskyites, and several fragmentations there, and also the non-communist world is also divided into Protestants, Catholics, capitalist ways, socialists, and so on and so on. And so we see, historically as well as everyday observation, that man is divided throughout the world by ideas, ideologies. Right? You have your guru around corner, and somebody else has his guru. And they're at each other's throat. Mine is better than yours. He knows much more than yours. He does miracles than yours. And so on and on. From the most primitive to the most intellectual, to the most clever, erudite. And the world is divided like this. And so, a man who wants to bring about a unity of mankind, because as we said the other time we met, there is only one political issue, one economic issue, social issue, the unity of mankind. Where we can all live at peace with each other. Where we can all be happily live in this mad world. So, it is these ideas that are dividing people. Now, can we live without ideologies? Don't say no. Don't say yes or no. I'm putting you the question, and if you say no, you block yourself. If you say yes, you also block yourself. But you have to investigate it to find out. You have to go into it, you have to inquire. So you must be free from yes or no. Right? So, we're going to inquire into it, whether it is possible to live in this world and organize action not based on an idea. It is a very complex thing. It isn't just a superficial thing. It demands a great deal of inquiry. Because man has always functioned with a formula, with a concept, with an ideology. Always. And he has divided mankind into ideologies. And we are saying something entirely different from that. Completely revolutionary from that. And to find out the truth of it, you can't say it must be or it must not be. You must have freedom to inquire, which means you must not be committed to any ideology right off. You understand? You can't be a communist, a socialist, or a Hindu, Islam. All that must go to inquire to find out. So we're going to inquire. And you're going to also inquire with me. You're not going to just sit there and listen to what we just hear words. We are both, you and I, going to take a journey of inquiry. So you have to work as much as the speaker. You can't just sit there, you tell me what to do, or you tell me whether there's a new action without idea and so on. It means you also must share together, right? So we have to inquire first, what is thinking? Why thought, when it gets organized, it becomes an idea, and why human beings hold on to those ideas? And those ideas are the most important things in life. Ideologies. Whether the Hindu, Muslim, communist, and so on, so on, so on. So, before we can put aside any ideologies, we must inquire how they come into being, which means we must find out the structure and the nature of thought. Right? That's clear. Right. Let's proceed. You know what energy is, don't you? Energy. That is, to get up and go to the door requires energy. To play cricket requires energy. To do anything, to talk, to gesture, to go to sleep, everything demands energy. If you have no energy, you can't do anything. Right? So, energy is in the very nature of the brain. The structure of the brain demands energy. I put a pin into you, you react. The reaction is the result of the pain transmitted to the brain cells, which says it's pain, and you act. I'm putting it all very simply. So, this energy is part of the brain cells, and the brain cells create the idea, the thought. So thought is part of the brain as energy. So there is energy and there is thought. And thought then becomes matter. You understand? Thought is matter. As matter in the sense, the wall, the floor, the microphone, matter, the flesh. That is, there is energy and there is matter, right? That's all life is. Energy and matter. We think thought is not matter. But thought is matter. Thought is matter as an idea, as an ideology. So, where there is energy, it also becomes the matter. So, matter and energy are interrelated. The one cannot exist without the other. And matter cannot exist without energy, and energy cannot exist without matter. The two are completely interrelated. And the more there is harmony, balance between energy and matter, listen to this, the more there is balance, harmony between energy and matter, the more the brain cells are active. Not as idea, but actually active, much more. Probably so a little bit difficult, but it doesn't matter. So those who say that we are spiritual human beings and we think a great deal, they are really very materialistic. Because they're concerned with thought, with ideas, with patterns, with formulas. So, thought originates, as we know, as you can observe yourself, in yourself, comes from memory. Memory which thought has created. That is, I look at the sunset, I saw the sunset yesterday. It gave me a great delight. I saw the light on the water, the light of the setting sun among the leaves. I saw the extraordinary glow. I saw the trees, naked trees against this golden glow, and all that gave me tremendous pleasure. That pleasure is thinking about that sunset and stored up as memory in the brain. So, memory responds to a challenge, which then is translated as thought. Wait, one moment. Sorry. Let me finish, because this one has to go into this little more seriously. I haven't finished yet. I keep your question. As soon as you have finished my talking, you ask my. So, memory, knowledge, experience is the basis of our thinking. If I had no experience at all, no knowledge, no information, no memory, I couldn't think at all. And so thought organized with energy which says which thought says I must protect myself, I must be this, I must not be that, and so on, so on, so on. I won't complicate all that. Makes for an idea, for an image. And that image the thought holds on. Have you noticed that you have an image about your friend, and your friend has an image about you, right? an image, a picture, a symbol, an idea. And these two images are related. That's what we call relationship. Right? Look, a husband and a wife are supposed to be related. Now, the husband has an image about the wife, the image being the idea. The wife has given him a pleasure, the wife has nagged him, the wife has bred his children, the wife has got angry with him, the wife has patted him on the back, and so on, so on, so on. All that is the memory which he retains. And that is the image he has about the wife. And the wife has a similar image about the husband. Or dissimilar, slightly different. So these two symbols or images have relationship. Not human beings, but images. You understand? You're getting all this? You see the importance of this. That a husband has an image about the wife, and the wife has an image about the husband. And the relationship is between these two images. Not between two human beings, but between these two images. Right? So in the same way, human beings have created ideologies which are images, and these images have relationships. Human beings don't have relationship. As long as these images exist, human beings cannot have a relationship. And our whole sociological structure is based on these images. So, our question is it possible to have relationship with human beings without the image? I'll show you. You have an image about me, about the speaker, right? Because the speaker has a certain reputation. The speaker gets up here on the platform and talks, and you have created an image about him, right? And if the speaker is silly enough, is absurd enough to create an image about the audience, then his relationship with the audience is the image which he has about the audience, and you have the image about the speaker, right? You get it? So the relationship between the speaker and the audience is an imaginary relationship, but not actual relationship. So, to bring about actual relationship between you and the speaker, the image must not be. So, to have an actual relationship between you and what you call the Muslim, the ideology between you and the ideology that he has created about you must come to an end. Right? Now, so, is it possible for you and for me not to have images about anything, especially about human beings? And that's why one has to be, not to have any image about another. One has to watch, observe how thinking comes into being, how thinking works. Take, for instance, you tell me something very pleasant. You flatter me. I like that, and that thought holds on to that. Right? It has created an image about you as a friend, because you have flattered me. And he has insulted me. So I have an image about him as not being friendly. And all this structure is based on pleasure and pain, right? So as long as thought is pursuing pleasure and avoiding pain, it must create images, ideologies, right? So, is it possible to have human relationship without the symbol, the image, the ideology? I say it is possible. Which means any pleasure principle that arises in you must be examined and be put away as it arises. That's very difficult. That's not that we can go into at a later time, because that demands a great deal of awareness, great deal of attention to every thought, every feeling, every reaction. So that each day, at the end of the day or at each minute, you are purging yourself of any memory which is held as means of a symbol. So it's only possible for human relationship to exist when the image created by thought ceases to be. Then you and I are actually in relationship, which is quite a different thing. Then we can have a different structure of the society. Then we are dealing directly, not through ideas, through ideologies. But if you are dealing directly, we will not kill each other. Then flags, nationalities, ideologies, divisions of the world into the West and the East, all that will disappear. That's enough. What we're going to ask? You've forgotten it. Wait. Take your time. Take your time. What does man get by? What does man gain by destroying others? I think that's fairly simple, isn't it? You have property, you have a big house, you have a better coat than I have, and I kill you to get what you have. Right? Or I kill you because you threaten what I have. Look, there has been a war between so-called Muslim world and the Hindu world, that's Pakistan and India. Why? Because the Muslim thinks his ideology is better than yours. And his ideology has been cultivated through centuries, conditioned, brainwashed, as the communists brainwashed in order to put new set of ideas into those people, new Marxist, Lenin ideas. So human beings living in Pakistan have been conditioned as Muslims, as you in India have been conditioned as Hindus. Hindus with your tradition, with your gods, with your superstitions, with your customs, with your tradition and so-called culture. And these two ideologies fight each other, and which is, you represent one ideology and the other fellow represents the other ideology, and they kill each other. And that's how the world has lived from the historic times. That is, about 5,500 years ago, listen to this, 5,500 years ago, there was the first recorded history, first war. You can imagine? And the man the people who lived in the first war must have said, my God, I hope this will be the last war. So, from 5,500 BC till now, there have been nearly 15,000 wars. That means 2.5 wars every year. Wars between two ideologies, you understand? Your country and my country. My country must protect against your country. My economy, my ideas, my gods, my wives, my country, my house. And so we kill each other. And people kill each other because my ideas are much better than your ideas. You're following all this? The left, that is the Chinese communism, the left, and the rightist communism, which is Russia, they're getting ready, hitting each other, separating. And the poor communists in India don't know what to do. They don't know whether to go to the left or to the right. So they're caught. And this way we live. This way we have lived all our 5,000, 7,000 years. Can we live without this? You understand? Can we live without wars? Of course we can. But we don't want to. Which means to live without war means you must live peacefully. Right? Not ambitious, not greedy, not have any nationality, not divide yourself into Christians, Hindus, Muslims, Buddhists, right? No class. It has to begin with you. You know, there was a Russian Revolution in 1918. They said all these things. No class, no army, the withering away of the state, and so on and on. And on. They've said all this. But they're coming back to the same old pattern of greed, envy, prestige, and all the rest of it. So to live without war means you must live every day in peace, not to create antagonism, not to hate, not to be angry, not to say, well, he's somebody inferior to me. Show respect to the superior and show disrespect to the inferior. Moment you have respect for superior, you are inevitably will have disrespect for another. That's why we said the other day, to live peacefully in this world, there must be affection. There must be consideration. And love is not an ideology. Thank God. You can't turn love into an ideology. And through an ideology, you can't come to love. The gentleman says it's probably the destiny of the world to live like this. You understand? He says it's the destiny. It is inevitable. All right, you live then that way. You allow then, if you say that is the inevitable, let your sons be killed, let your house be burnt, destroy. Then you might just as well, if you say it is inevitable, you might just as well go and jump in the lake or in the river. But if you say that that's the most absurd way of living, most stupid, most incredible way of living, then you have to change it. Which means you must have energy. But you have not the energy to change because you're dissipating that energy in conflict. Is it? Huh? Doesn't matter. Say it. Is it? Is it not an ideology of which you are speaking? No. I'm just pointing out facts. Wait. I'll show you. What is the difference between an ideology and a fact? The same thing with that gentleman asked the other day who was sitting over here. I'm just pointing out the fact that you as a Hindu, with your culture, with your ideology, with your gods, with your tradition, with your customs, with your background, that's a fact, including your ideology. And the Muslim, with his ideologies, with his superstitions, with his customs, with his culture, the two are fighting each other, right? Now, to point out these two does not mean that you have an ideology. I say, look what you are doing. And if you want to look, and if you have the capacity to look, if you are interested to look, then you see how ideologies divide human beings. And you say, for God's sake, is there not a different way of living? Right? But when you put that question, isn't there not a different way of living, don't create another ideology. You know, it's one of the things that we have to understand, which is, through negation, you understand? Through negation, you come to the most positive, which is non-ideology. Huh? This is right. Well, I'll show you. I deny for myself that I'm a Hindu. I've denied it longer. It's too stupid to say I'm an Indian, I'm a Brahmin, I'm this. That's too infantile, immature. So I say no. I don't belong to India. I'm not an Indian citizen, except a passport. Unfortunately, I must have that to travel. I am not an Indian. With all the superstitions, with all the gods, with all the tradition, with the background, I say that is because I see where that leads to, with the Indian philosophy. And I say that separate man. But when I deny that, I mean, intellectually, emotionally, in every way, I say, I won't have it. It doesn't mean I create a new ideology for myself. That is, when I deny, that is to negate, push aside, the very act of pushing it aside becomes a positive. And the positive is never an ideology. The ideology is always negative and therefore impractical. If you had no ideology and a Muslim had no ideology, then you two and I would live together very peacefully, wouldn't we? You would have your no country as Kashmir, India, and Pakistan, East and West and all that. We live as human beings living in a world which is ours. It's our world, our earth. But that is divided, broken up, because we have these stupid ideologies invented by the clever theoreticians, by the clever theologians, by the people who belong to the right or to the left. So in denying all that, the very denying is the positive. And the positive then is factual. And you can live with that completely. Wait, sir. Yes, quite. The question is, how would you act without ideologies? If you had no ideologies, would you not return to the animal? Right, sir? I'm only putting it very simply for... You understand? I act now, one acts now with ideologies. The idea first, the formula, the concept, and then the act. If one removes the idea, will you not return to this animal psychology, the animal instincts, right? Wait, sir, wait. We are, a great part of us is still the animal, right? Because have you noticed animals? How they are frightened, how they are greedy, how they protect, how they accumulate and hold on. We have got a great many activities of the animal in us. And when we remove the ideologies, concepts, the questioner says, will you not return to the animal? On the contrary, when you remove ideologies, you remove fear. And also, it's a very complex thing. May I go into it little? Please forgive me if you don't understand it. I'll go into it. He and I are discussing. So, you see, in all of us, there is a desire to protect, to be sure, to be secure. Secure with the family, secure with ideas, secure in relationship. And the security is based on the fear of not being. Most of us are frightened people. We have great fears, of which we are conscious or unconscious. And if one is conscious not to escape from fears at all, but actually face them and go finish with them, then the mind is completely free from fear. And it is possible to be totally psychologically free from fear. And what is the action when the mind has no ideology, and is that action spontaneous? You know, that word spontaneity is rather a dangerous word. We all think we are spontaneous, but to understand spontaneity, one has to understand the attachments, the fears, the various bondages which time has created in us. Then when there is freedom from that, then perhaps there is spontaneity. But what is much more involved in this question is it not, can a mind function without the image, the formula, the concept, and therefore without thought? That is, can a mind function out of total silence? Silence being complete harmony between balance, without any imbalance, complete balance between energy and matter. It is only then the mind is completely quiet. And out of that stillness, out of that silence, surely action can take place. Not a momentary action, but action always springing from that silence. Of course, this becomes a theory as long as you have not gone to that point. You know the difference between a philosopher and a religious person? A philosopher is always dealing with ideas, with theories, speculation. A really religious man is directly seeing, directly, I don't like to use the word experiencing, because that again is a very complex word, heavily loaded, directly seeing something and acting, without the interval of time. But we won't go into all that. So, to find out whether it is possible to act without idea, formula, concept, image, one must go into this question of thinking and see the whole principle of pleasure, and then perhaps if you have gone into it very deeply, which is really meditation, then from that meditation, which is not self-hypnosis at all, then there is a quality of mind that's completely silent. And from that silence it can function. Which is tolerance. Yes, sir. Yes. Obviously. The questioner says we have lived a long time with these two different ideologies, Hindus and Muslims. And we have tolerated each other. We lived in the same street. We did business together. Even occasionally marry a Muslim. Or the Muslim marrying occasionally, with a great deal of protest from the family, a Hindu. So you've just tolerated. Huh? No? No, we have not tolerated. All right, you put up with each other. You had yours, and I have mine. We just remained peacefully, enclosed within our walls. And is that communication? Is that relationship? When you have your ideology which has enclosed you, and I have my ideologies which has enclosed me, we may live very peacefully behind these walls, but there is no relationship between us. And if there is no relationship, then inevitably there must be a battle. What, sir? What? I can't hear, sir. Sorry, you have somebody who heard. Please repeat it. What, sir? What? Wait, sir. Is somebody? Yeah. If you got rid of all ideologies, and ideologies have brought about progress, would that not put an end to progress? Right? Is that right, sir? I wonder what we could mean by progress. At what level? There has been progress from the cartwheel to the jet, right? From the ordinary primitive arrow to the most IBM, intercontinental ballistics and so on and so on. There's been progress, right? That nobody can deny. That was based essentially on ideas, improving each time. But the man who invented the jet, who jumped from the propeller to the jet, he was not idea. He immediately moved to something new. That we won't go into that for the moment. So when we use the word progress, one has to be clear what we mean by that word. Progress from the known and improving the known, right? From the wheel to the jet. That. Wait, sir. I'm coming to that, sir. I'm coming to that. Sir. From the jet to. From the wheel to the jet, from the bullock cart to the jet. Then there is a progress from tyranny, whether it's communist, social, from tyranny, dictatorship, to freedom. Right? That is to allow every man to think what he likes. All that's called progress. But inwardly, have we progressed? Inwardly, inside the skin. Are we different from the man, psychologically different from the man who lived, say, thousands of years ago? We are still afraid. We are still greedy. We are still ambitious. We are ruthless, competitive. We are seeking prestige, position, domination. Surely, progress must imply, mustn't it, both inward and outward. Because actually, the division between the inner and the outer doesn't exist at all. We have divided it. But again, this is a very complex question. We have divided it and ran away with the outward implications of the progress. But inwardly, we have not made a great progress. And therefore, mere outward progress will always be dominated by the inward demands. You may have the most perfect society, ideologically, but the human being, unless inwardly there is a tremendous revolution, he will always dominate the outward structure. This is fairly obvious. So our problem is, how is a human being to change so completely? He's above or beyond the outward progress. And to bring about that radical change, mutation in human consciousness, is not a matter of time at all. Again, this is too complex because one has to go into the question of time. And perhaps it's not the occasion for that.
But why do we create ideologies?
Why do we create? Why do we create ideologies? Why? Why do you think we create ideologies? I explained, but it doesn't matter. Why do you think we create ideologies? Look, you know what? Have you noticed? Your father, your teacher, your mother, your grandmother tells you do, don't do, right? You must be this and you must not be that. She or he has an idea, an ideology. As a Hindu, with his culture, you must not do certain things, right? Why? How does she have those ideas, or he? Because his grandfather, his grandmother has, the tradition has been handed down, right? Now, how did this tradition come into being? Through hygienics, obviously, right? To live hygienically, and also to lead a so-called moral life. That you must do the right thing, you must not lie, you must not hurt people, you must be kind, and so on. And because the climate and so on, you can't keep the food overnight, and various problems. So you say, don't eat this or that, but do this or that. So ideologies come into being either through fear or through the mechanical inclination of the mind to do repeat, and also to always be certain, never be uncertain. Because to be uncertain is very disturbing. But if you have an ideology to follow, then you will never be disturbed. And a man who is not disturbed is a dead person. So ideologies are invented because basically we are frightened and we want to be certain. So we invent or we accept, or it is profitable because I'll get a job. So I accept ideologies through my fear, through my confusion, through my fear, through my greed. Of course, sir. Ideation, is pointed out, is brought about as a means of escape from what is. I am ugly. I am stupid. And I create an ideology that I must be clever, or that I must be something different, which is, I am avoiding the fact of what I am. As we said the other day, the fact is I'm violent. And unfortunately, human beings are violent. I'm violent. And the ideology of non-violence is an escape from the fact. And as it is an escape, I don't do anything about violence. But if I have no escape, no ideology, then I can look at violence. Then I am confronted with the fact that I am violent. Either accept it or I discard it. But to accept and to discard requires a certain form of energy. How long will the world take to understand what you are saying and change? The world is you, madam. And it all depends upon you, who are the world, who are part of the world, whether you want to change or not. We seem to think the world is something out there. The world is you and me. We are part of the world. We are part of the mass. We are part of the humanity, whether American or Indian or Russian or whatever it is. And as you and I are part of this whole human mess and confusion and misery, either we escape through rituals, through politics, through various forms of philosophies and ideologies, or we face the fact and do something. And to face the fact of what we actually are, which is violent and so on, we mustn't think in terms of time. That is, gradually I'll get rid of it. So when there is danger, real danger, time disappears, doesn't it? There is immediate action because the danger itself demands immediate action. But we don't see the danger of violence. I'm taking that as an example. We don't see the real danger of it. If we saw the real danger of it, we'd act and get rid of it immediately. So, we don't see the danger of it, therefore we invent time as a means of overcoming violence. So time is a deceiver. It doesn't do a thing. It doesn't help us to bring about a change. What is the difference between religion and beauty? What is the difference? What is the difference between religion and duty? But I prefer my own question. Huh? What is the difference between beauty and religion? We'll answer both, shall we? Huh? We'll answer both. When we use the word duty, what does that mean? Duty. I must do. I must obey. It is my duty as a head of the family to support the children, the house, and so on. It's my duty as a soldier to train myself in order to protect the so-called country, in order to kill somebody who attacks. Right? It's the duty of a government to rule efficiently. It's the duty, that word is duty. When we use that word, we mean all that. Dharma, am I right? Is not duty an idea? Huh? Yes. Quite right. But just let's put that away for the moment. Let's look at this. So, the father tells the son, it's your duty to look after me when I'm old. It's your duty to marry that girl or that boy. So, this structure of duty in which the individual is held, the human being is held, is destroying the human being. Right? In duty there is no love. Right? As long as you are being compelled to do something because it's your duty, you don't love what you're doing. And when then there is love, there is no duty. You don't even talk about that word. So he says, what is the difference between duty and religion? Now, the accepted meaning of that word is organized belief, as Hinduism, with all its philosophies, with all its complex superstitions, ideas, beliefs, dogmas, rituals, all that, the temples, the images, the gods and the goddesses, all that is called generally the religion. To me, that's not religion at all. Religion is something entirely different. And the difference between the two, between duty and organized religion, is there is no difference between the two at all. Right? You understand? There is no difference. Because the word duty, with all the implications, as we have just now said, holds man, grips him, puts him in a prison. And the so-called organized religions throughout the world also encage him, condition him. And there is no difference between the two cages. One may have a different words for the two, but they are essentially the same thing. Right? So, now let's go to the other question, which is, what is the difference between beauty, not duty, but beauty, and religion? First, what is beauty? Is it an idea? When you look at a tree and the sparkling waters of the river, when you look at it, do you look at it through an idea? Or do you merely look at it with the fullness of your heart and with the fullness of your mind? Which means, do you look at it with complete abandonment? It's only the mind that's completely abandons itself by looking at the river. Then it knows what beauty is. We know beauty generally through comparison, what man has put together, as that's a beautiful building, beautiful mosque, good architecture, the beauty of various colors. We generally know beauty either through comparison or through what man has put together, or by looking at nature, the river, the trees, the stars, which means we attribute beauty to the object, to the thing that we see, which is a reaction. Isn't it? I see what I consider a most beautiful building, and I say, that, how beautiful that is. And that beauty I appreciate because of my knowledge of the structure, the lines, the depth, the shade, and so on. And all that creates a harmony in me, and that's a beautiful building. Now I'm asking myself, is there a beauty without object? You understand? Without object. When I look at the river, I say it's beautiful, because I feel very strongly. And also I notice, if thought doesn't intervene between the observer and the observed, which is the river, then when I really pay attention to looking at that river, the observer is not. This again is for most people is a theory, but if you've gone into it, if you observe, you will find out for yourself. As long as there is an observer, who is the sensor, the experiencer, the thinker, there is no beauty. Because then beauty is something external, something he looks at and says that is beautiful or ugly. But when there is no observer, which demands a great deal of meditation and inquiry and so on, then there is beauty without the object. Now, what is the difference between that and a religion which is not based on dogma, ritual, tradition, a conditioning? Sir? Can you repeat what is beauty without object? I cannot repeat, but I can try something else. So look, you're walking by yourself or somebody, and you have stopped talking. You're surrounded by nature. And there isn't a dog barking, there isn't a noise of a car passing by, or even the flutter of a bird. You're completely silent. And nature around you is also wholly silent. In that state of silence, complete silence, both in the observer and the thing observed, when the observer doesn't translate what he observes in terms of noise as words, as thought, then in that silence there is a different quality of beauty. There is neither the nature nor the observer. There is a state of mind which is wholly, completely alone. And it's alone not in isolation. It's alone in silence. And that silence is beauty, is the very structure of beauty. I'm sorry I put it differently, but it can't be helped. And we're saying, when man frees himself from the religious conditioning, whether the religious conditioning be Catholic, Protestant, Buddhist, or Hindu or Muslim, or the new religion, the Marxist and the Leninist, those are also religions. When you are, when you have unconditioned yourself from all these organized belief, rituals, dogmas, ideologies, then, and you can only free the mind can only free itself when there is no effort at all in its freedom, then there is direct perception, not by the perceiver. As long as there is a perceiver, there is no direct perception. Then you will say, who is the entity that perceives? You will not put that question when you are actually experiencing, when you are actually giving attention. Now wait a minute, I'll show it to you. When you give complete attention, I mean complete attention, with your nerves, with your eyes, with your ears, with your brain, with your thought, with your complete attention, you will see there is no observer at all. There is only a state of attention which is total energy. And that total energy is the highest form of intelligence. And in that state of mind, which naturally must be completely quiet, completely silent, and that silence, that quietness comes only when there is total attention, not disciplined silence, not trained silence, then you might be just as well be a soldier, and therefore nobody at all. I mean, dead. So, in that total silence, in which there is no observer, and nor the thing observed, that is the highest form of a religious mind. Then what happens in that state cannot possibly be put into words, because what is said in words is not the fact. And to find out for yourself, you have to go through all this. And as we have lived for centuries on words, on philosophies and ideas, that has destroyed us. It's only when we put all that aside, then we can begin to find out for oneself that there is a beauty without object and a state of mind which is the highest form of intelligence, of sensitivity, of attention, which has a movement of its own. And so the difference between a religious mind, of such a mind and beauty, there is no difference at all.
Sir, I think the girl's question might have been, what is the difference between religion and your teaching rather than duty?
Is that what you meant? What's the difference between what the speaker, what we have been talking about, and the accepted norm of religion? Is that it? No, I don't think so, sir. I don't think so, sir.
I want to go back to what you were saying earlier. It is not the reaction which is a spontaneous reaction from that which is thinking?
Yes, sir. You see, again, I must stop because There are certain things to be done. To inquire what is action, again, is a very complex problem. Because in action are involved two things, the idea and action, generally. The idea is different from action. Or the action is always approximating itself to the idea, conforming, imitating. And therefore, there is an interval of time between idea and action. In that interval, there are all other kinds of movements, other kinds of pressures. Therefore, action is never complete, but always fragmentary. And it is only when we understand the whole structure and the nature and the meaning of idea, then action is out of time. And which is not out of time means mystical thing, but action, instant action. That is, seeing is acting.